Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
Hello everyone, my name is Sumit. I'm from India and we welcome you in a very nice show here, an Indo-Canada series of podcasts sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. And we have a very special guest today. So we have Kiowa is with us here from California, and he is actually the winner of the book cover creation on our site, our Facebook site. He is got the most amazing story. He has survived 29 heart surgeries, and he even got a letter from Donald Trump. We'll have to find out how he got that. He is the author of the Self-Rescue Manual, and he is here to discuss more about his book and how he came about writing it. So welcome, Kiowa.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with y'all.
Thank you. So we'll start off with, give us a little bit of your
Yes.
background.
Well, background starts with age 12, had my first heart failure, went misdiagnosed until I was 26 years of age, passed away on a job site, was paddled back to life, finally got properly diagnosed at a very good hospital where they realized what was going on. In fact, when I was 12 years old, they didn't even have a name for the disease. It's called Wolff-Parkinson's White syndrome, and that's what I suffer from. As I had mentioned in one of my books, it was very rare back in the 70s when I was first inflicted by it with SVT rhythm, which is supraventricular tachycardia, where you well over 350 beats a minute until you finally pass out, and then unfortunately many would pass away. 90% of the people who have this, or 98% of the people who are finally diagnosed, unfortunately don't survive. So I'm trying to work with as many people as I can to help them understand how this works and how to survive it and how to overcome it. And of course, you know, the medicine today is amazing. There's ablations, other procedures, electrophysiological studies that they've done to help people get through it, to find out the mapping of the heart disease. It's amazing. There's huge numbers of members of many different groups of Wolff-Parkinson's White syndrome on Facebook that people can contact and get some information. Like I said, unfortunately, there are a great many people who don't even know they have the disease. And once it happens, unfortunately, may not survive the first attack. And it's very sad, unfortunately. However, like I said, technology today, they'll know whether you have it or not when you're born today. I mean, they can tell you. When I was a kid, they didn't have that kind of science. They didn't have anything close to this. So being the frontier of the first surgery, in fact, I'm the first guy in America to have the ablation done, catheter ablation. And I'm so grateful to have survived that. And unfortunately, it didn't work the first time. It didn't work the second, third, or fourth, or fifth time either. And unfortunately, by the time they did it the sixth time, it was a different procedure, and they had to completely eliminate the heart rate for me because the disease was so advanced that it kept growing back. It's like a nerve. It just keeps growing back in my case. So they did away with the HIS bundle, which is the network of your heart, where the nerve centers tell your upper and lower chamber when and how fast to beat. So I became pacemaker reliant. But however, getting back to the beginning of the story, I literally had to learn how to control my heart to keep myself from passing out and eventually, passing away. So my book, The Self-Rescue Manual by K.S. Michaels, that's my pseudonym, K.S. Michaels, I had to learn how to work the internal workings of my heart, which means you have to visualize the muscle, you have to visualize the side effects, you have to visualize the malfunction, and literally learn your anatomy. And it wasn't until then that I understood what actually is going on and what I'm doing and how I'm able to help myself. And in many cases, a lot of people, if you're sick, like say a cancer or any illness, You need to get to the root of it. You need to see what it looks like. You need to see where it's located. And then, like many people work with their chakra, you need to surround it with your little white light and expand upon that, to work with that, to cure yourself, cure even others. There's so many procedures in my book that teach you how to work with other people and their illnesses, and how to relate, to enter the subconscious and bring about thought and processes that holistically heal. And you'd be surprised how powerful we are and how we can actually do wonders with our bodies, our confidence, our strengths, even memory. I mean, I did a whole chapter on how to produce your photographic memory. A lot of people don't realize we're born with every gift you can imagine. It's just learning how to use the tools to develop it. But
And
I'm
come
talking.
across, did you come about going towards that way? Like I completely believe in that as well, that your mind and your visualization, uh, because there's times where I have rapid heartbeat, so I have to actually reduce it as well. So I get that. But what brought
Right.
you to that? So rather
Well,
than
it was
just
due.
regular medical health, that you actually went beyond that.
Well, it was. I had no choice. It was do or die, and that's like, you know, the book basically tells you when you have when you have an affliction of such magnitude, even cancer or such things, you have to realize you're going to war now. I mean, you either do or die. You have to fight this thing head on. You don't do it half-mast. You don't do it, half-heartedly. It's something, like I said, I was given 6 months to live 30 years ago. That's all they gave me. And I said, no, I don't accept that. I went to the doctor. I said, do you have any kind of paperwork on what a heart even looks like? I didn't even know what the heart looked like, basically. I mean, I had an idea. It's not like the thing on Valentine's Day, I can tell you that,
No, not
it,
as
it
cute.
was, yeah, it's just this weird looking thing with chambers and muscles, and it beats kind of strangely looking. And but anyways, I had a doctor explain to me exactly where the nerves are, where the nerve endings are, where it connects with these lines and lines and lines of nerve endings, and where your chambers are, and how it's supposed to function properly, and how mine was not functioning properly. You have an upper chamber and a lower chamber, and you're supposed to have one nerve ending that goes to each chamber that basically your brain tells it when it's to beat. And in my case, my upper chamber had 5 signals, not just one, but 5. So it would go into retrobeat, which would mean like anywhere from 250 to 350 beats per minute. And back in the day, in the 70s, they were using monitors that were using ink and a needle. So they didn't, anything over 350 beats a minute, they didn't even know if there was such a thing. So they said it was 350 beats plus, because the ink blotch was so dark, they couldn't differentiate whether it was 400 beats or
Right.
500 beats. That's how bad it was. Back to the
Amazing.
story. This is how I had to break it down. The doctor showed me where the nerves were. This is what's going on. This is where the brain comes into contact. And even today, when I speak in front of like the kids at the junior high schools and hospitals and such, I also hook up a monitor to my arm. They'll hear my heart rate. You can hear the audible beeping, and I'll work with that, and it'll go, 70 beats a minute. I'll tell you, this is my 70 beats a minute. I said, now this is 140 beats a minute. And suddenly, I can work with my brain now and make it work so that I'm fighting the pacemaker as well, though, nowadays, because I'm pacer dependent. But the cool thing is I still have that control. God forbid, I start getting palpitations again, or, the SVT rhythms. I can control it just long enough, maybe 2-3 hours until I get medical help. Many people don't have that benefit. So again, my book explains how I broke it down, how I was able to figure out my way of doing it, how I was able to do it. And you can apply the same procedure to many other ailments. Like I've had so many people tell me they've got, nerve damage in their neck. My wife, she blew a disc in her neck, I don't know how long ago. She suffers from migraines. So basically let her go into like a little hypnosis state. She sits and relaxes and listens to my voice as I tell her we're going into another stage. We're going to relax. We're going to surround that ailment with our white light, and you visualize the ailment, the place of whatever's wrong, cancer, headache, nerve ending that are, you know, in her case, it's a pinched nerve between the two vertebrae in her neck. We visualize that as, let's say, red. We want to get rid of the red. Red is, in my book, indicates pain. The white is your white light, is your healing powers, your vibration. And we surround it. And then eventually we are shrinking that redness and changing its color from a bright red to maybe an orange, then a light orange, then eventually we fade it away, we shrink it down to a pea, then maybe even a tiny little BB, you know, a sand, you know, speck, and eventually it disappears. And then we go through the same steps coming out of the hypnosis stage, and we walk back into the realm of here we are today, okay? And each single day that you work on it, you are basically subconsciously working on your self-healing. And like I said, it explains it in greater detail. I couldn't go through the whole thing, you know, in a matter of minutes. But
So
once
the
you
whole
read the book,
anatomy, yeah, that is, it looks like the whole anatomy, you got to know what exactly happening right there inside us. Tremendous. I really like that particular sentence when you say that I don't accept that when they told you about the time period. So it's really nice. I was looking for your profile yesterday, and I really liked the last post you did. And you just mentioned that it was 12 years of age when you got your first heart failure, right?
right,
And
right,
here you mentioned that at the age of 15, you were representing West Valley Eagles,
yeah,
and not you just represented, you took a first place in that. So
yes,
we would like to hear about that. Like after, like it's not more than 3 years when you took the part in that. So
right.
from where you took this much courage and you won that.
Well, secondly, you have to understand, I didn't even know I was sick, because when I was taken to the hospital, they basically told me I was having anxiety, because that's basically what a lot of hospitals did back in the day. And I won't mention which hospital it was because they were new. It wasn't their fault that they misdiagnosed me. They just never seen such a thing. Kid walks in the door, he's got 350 beats a minute going on. It looks horrifying. I'm sitting calmly. I'm losing my vision because my heart's beating so fast. I'm losing consciousness, and then they don't know what to do. But yeah, I was young, 12 years old. I was at a track meet. I was doing the long jump, hit the board for my launch, landed in the sand, and before I knew it, I just couldn't catch my breath. And usually that's not the case for an athlete who's, you know, in fairly decent shape. You know, it's like, okay, what's going on here? And I was fortunate enough to have a lady in the stand who was a nurse's aide. She came running down to see what was up, and she took my pulse rate and says, okay, you need to get him to the hospital immediately. There's something seriously wrong here. You know, he's at a relaxed state, and his heart rate is well over 220. This isn't right. And it wasn't slowing at any time. So it's, it's a process, you know. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I had a I have a heart problem, and I'm going to have to learn to deal with it because nobody recognizes it. And like I said, yeah, like you saw in the picture, 3 years later, I'm still running track. I'm playing baseball, football, track, and wrestling. I did everything. I love sports. If I didn't weigh only 125 pounds, I'd probably still be in sports, but you can't really play football when you're as small as I am. And that's really what was my penchant at the time. But yeah, when I was 15, by that time I'd already had more than 5 dozen heart failures, and they just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. And then one day I was at work at the age of 26, had a major episode. I was using a jackhammer. I was doing construction with a company out in Hollywood, in California, and I'm working away, and then the heart rate was so bad, I didn't yet pass out, And my partner, thank God, who was working with me, called 911. They got the ambulance out there, and they were advised to paddle me because I wasn't going to make it. But like I said, I was learning to control my heart up to that point by using, you know, my processes that I've explained in the book. And here you are, you know, today saying, okay, well, dang, it worked. It saved my life. And yes, I've had many surgeries, more than a couple of dozen. And then when you have a surgery, a major heart surgery, you sometimes end up having other ailments happen, you know, side effects or things that cause adhesions and such, which that's why I ended up having 5 more lung surgeries. But you know what? I hang on to the word hope. Hope is the best thing in the world for you. As long as you can hang on to hope, you can battle any wound, any ailment, any fight. And this is a fight, believe me. Trying to heal yourself is a fight. It's a battle you have to be prepared for. And in the book, I explain how you prepare for every battle before, during, and after surgeries. And yeah, you know, you may not be awake during your surgery. In many of my cases, actually, you have to be awake. I've been able to prepare for that. And it's not easy. I never went to the doctor before my first heart surgery for anything because I never got sick except this heart problem. So it was a bit frightening, but I was very fortunate. I did a lot of research. And as the doctors were willing to work with me, and I asked a lot of questions. That's the biggest thing. You got to ask a lot of questions. And if you're not getting the answers you want from one doctor, get them from another. You know, that's the process of learning. If you're not getting the information you need, find a source that will get you the information you need, because that is the main way to learn what's going on. Visualize the heart, in my case, visualize the muscles, the affliction, the problem, the matter of the problem, where it's located, what it looks like, and understand what they're going to do during the procedure. So in fact, while you're having your surgery, you're actually helping because you have a positive attitude, you have a positive mind, you're surrounding yourself with the white light, and you are in the process of healing before you've even had the chance to get your surgery. It's a process, but you know what? I've broken it all down. And the cool thing is you can learn any aspect of this. You can learn how to start it from the beginning, work your way through it. And I'm not saying it, you know, it's a miracle thing. I don't like to take the medications that they were prescribing. The beta blockers slowed me down. They kind of messed me up, and I really wasn't happy about them. I am medicine free at this time. I'm 60 years old. I've had more heart failures than anybody in America. And unfortunately, the Guinness Book of World Records wouldn't even document it because as far as they were concerned, it wasn't a feat that they wanted to record.
You're kidding.
But
It would make
awesome.
sense,
That's really interesting, Lorian. Don't you think so? Like he just mentioned 60 years old. Just look at him. Like I just got his picture last night running on the track, and no one can say that this young guy has got the heart failure 3 years back.
yeah,
Like hats off to the photographer who took the picture. Like it's a perfect pose, and the confidence is showing in that picture. Tremendous. You really
even today, Smee.
even today, yeah.
Kiowa,
That's the
you would
thing.
not
That's the
know
thing.
that
thank you.
you have
Right.
gone through all of this, and you look very fit. So you obviously keep
Yes, I do.
exercising, and that I would imagine is a big part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is a huge part of it. The mental is just as much as the physical when it comes to preparing for the surgeries and such. Yeah, I was an athlete when I was a kid, but I'm more so inclined now physically to work with this body to make sure this vessel doesn't break down on me. And, you know, it sounds kind of weird, but I mean, you have to understand this is your temple. This is the only vessel you have in this timeline. So you got to take care of it. You know, I never did smoke cigarettes, only drink occasionally, you know, and that's not very often. And, you know, I don't even like taking prescribed drugs if I don't have to. So, good God, why would I want to do why would I want to waste money on drugs anyways? You know, come on, think about it.
You
I see
can control
so many
the
people ruin their lives doing the wrong
yeah.
things. And I'm like, you know, people, I'm over here, I'm basically terminal. I've been terminal for 30 years. And there are people going out of their way to destroy their bodies, and I just don't understand the gift that they've been given. Why would they want to wreck it? You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, you just got to understand there's just as much physical as there is mental when it comes to maintaining your body, your strength, you know, your system in good working condition. And I've just been fortunate enough to be able to figure out how to work with it. And now I write about it. I also write novels.
So a lot of what you've spoken to today, we can actually find in your book, The Self-Rescue Manual.
Oh yes, it's
Excellent.
all there. It's broken down, and in fact, I finally found a voice, a young lady who's really sweet. In fact, we went to school together. She's going to do the recording of it. So eventually, it'll become an audio portion of the hypnosis part, and I'm very happy. I'm so excited about getting that recorded, and that will be. Unfortunately, Amazon doesn't do CDs with their books anymore, so it has to be bought separately. But I'll make a deal with people. If they contact me, I can get them a copy. It won't be a problem when they want the CD. Because there's a lot of people who are more into audiobooks now than they don't want to sit down and turn the pages anymore. So I've realized that, and I've taken that into consideration. And this woman's voice, her name is Nancy. She's just amazing. She's got the perfect voice for this. And in fact, a guy in Georgia wants to do the male portion of the voice.
Why don't you do it?
You know, I'd like to, but I don't know. I don't know what it is about hearing my own voice. I don't like to hear my recorded voice. I don't know why. But there's a guy who's a good friend of mine out in Georgia. He's got the perfect speaking voice. He's even got the Southern accent. And for some reason. And he used to do commercials, so I know he knows what he's talking about. For some reason, I believe he'll get the ladies to listen to his portion of the hypnosis part. My voice, I don't know. It just sounds weird to me when I hear it on the recording.
We actually all feel that way, by the way. And it's funny, you think that you sound one way, and then you hear yourself, and you're going, oh, my, people hear that?
Exactly.
But, no, that's absolutely wonderful. And can you just give us quickly, because I'm really curious, how did you get that letter from Donald Trump?
Yeah,
Come on.
We really want to know about it. We actually talked about it last night, me and Orion.
Boy, this goes way back, and this is a long story. Let me tell you, when I was working at the company when I had my heart attack, heart failure, heart failure is a heart attack. The unfortunate situation was, since they didn't really have, they figured out what it was that was wrong with me, but they weren't accustomed to people surviving it. And the company that I worked for, and I'm not going to mention who it is, basically didn't want to keep insuring me and keeping me employed. So unfortunately, they fired me for not returning to work after an entire year of many, many complications with my heart. In fact, I was fired while I was in the hospital having one of my procedures.
Oh.
So it wasn't just Donald Trump. It wasn't Donald Trump that I first contacted. Believe me, it was my own mayor. And that was back in, mayor of LA was a long time ago. God, I can't remember what his name. I think it was Bradley. I can't remember. But anyways, I wrote many letters. Every congressman, every congressperson I could possibly contact, say, please help me out here. I got fired. I don't have insurance anymore. I'm gonna die if I don't get these procedures done, you know? And they all basically just sent me an autographed copy of their pictures and said, well, you know, thank you for your vote. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't really read your letter, but I just don't have time, kind of thing. It's like, wow. But I never stopped. I wrote every entity, everybody. I said, listen, I need help. Well, eventually I got onto Medicare, so I got my insurance. But I was still kind of upset about the situation, and I found out that company, and they're a very big company, and I'm not going to mention their name, have done the same thing to a great many people. They fire them for not being well, and they steal their pensions, and I was like, that's very upsetting to me. So my last letter went to Donald Trump and said, is there something you could do about this? And unfortunately, this poor man is being bombarded by so many opposing entities. He doesn't have time for every little complaint that people have, even though this company is gigantic and they're hurting other people. He basically, says, he and his wife wish me luck, and they're, happy that I've made it this far. And you know what? I was kind of happy to get that letter from him, and I understand it's just not something that they have time for, and it's somewhat of a rare disease, so they're not going to really address it like it's something major. And like I said, more people die before they even know they have it, and that's too bad. But again, today's science, today's medicine, today is amazing. They can tell whether a newborn has the disease or not, where when I was born, not even a clue. So thankfully, these things can be addressed immediately and nipped in the bud way before it becomes a problem. And I'm so happy for the people nowadays. I've just been very fortunate in so many ways. But you'll read about that in the book.
Definitely get a copy. That is really, really inspiring.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Yes. So about writing, like what about your profession? Like what actually do you mention the coaching? Apart from writing and coaching, what do you do?
Oh, the coaching? Basically, it's the same process that the book explains. Before I ever wrote the book, Loma Linda University Heart Institute had contacted me and asked me if I could speak before a bunch of people that were looking at the same procedures that I was going to be going through, and some others that were similarly related. And they asked me if I could just coach them along and help them to understand what they're going to be experiencing. And I said, no problem. I don't mind doing that at all. And that's basically what got me started into speaking, public speaking with a great many people, which branched out, obviously. The ramifications are many. I mean, it's not just the heart problem that I talk with people. I talk to a lot of kids about their confidence levels. So many kids today, they just don't know whether they're coming or going or what have you, even adults, or how to quit smoking or such. I apply my methods to all of these procedures. But yeah, it was Loma Linda who got this thing started. They asked me to speak to these people and say, hey, tell them what you went through. Wasn't so bad, nothing to be so frightened of, because you can frighten a person into death. You literally could, because some people just don't understand what they're going to be up against.
Yeah, true.
And I'm just glad I could be there to tell people it's not as bad as you think, and you're in full control the whole time. You can control it. You can maintain it. You can take care of yourself.
And all this they can read in the book, right?
Yes, most definitely.
It's
all broken down in the book.
We will put we will definitely put the in the description of the video below. You can provide the link, and if you have any other website, we already have your page, so we can put it there. So Lorian, do you have any questions apart from this?
I don't have any more. This has been just fascinating. I'm really happy
Awesome.
to finally met you. Well, we've been trying to sort of get our timings together here, so this is
exactly.
So.
Well, I appreciate you all having me. That was very nice of you, and I enjoyed this as well. And I thank you for the opportunity.
That's great. And so like Sumit said, we'll have the links here, and we're just going to sign off now. You're going to be on podcast right across, so Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast. It's going to be all across there, and it is the Sharing Your Thoughts Indo-Canada podcast.
Okay, great.
I'm going to sign off. I am Lorianne from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with
Sumit Singh from India, and you're watching, sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much to the guest who just joined us today.
Yes.
Okay, have a nice day.
Kiowa, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye now.